Man, I tell you, getting ready for the news is just something that's an ongoing, pretty much 24-hour-a-day process for me, because I even tend to dream about politics and geopolitics and issues and what's happening in the world. I eat, drink, and sleep this information because this is reality. Studying how the world works, the mysteries of the universe, is not a job, it is an adventure. And it is engrossing, and I would take reality over delusion and illusion any day. That's what this comes down to. The system is selling delusion, selling fairy tales, selling lies, and then telling people, don't listen to the conspiracy theorists that are questioning the admitted, on-record fraud that is the globalist system. And I'll go back to the big news of yesterday, 6% approval rating in Gallup for Congress, the lowest ever. I have never heard of a government that unpopular in history. I think the headline is criminal U.S. government or occupied U.S. government, most unpopular in history. Of course they're acting arrogant. Of course they're acting like they're all-powerful. Of course they act like it's ridiculous to question them. Oh, you don't think one guy killed Kennedy? When 90% or more know that it was a conspiracy. It's all a giant con game. And they know it's a con game. The people working in the system know it's a con game. And it's all a giant confidence act where they sit up there and act all confident and try to keep this whole ball rolling. And then as the society implodes and as people become more corrupt, institutions become colleges, think tanks of evil, think tanks of fraud. And then suddenly there's giant waves of corruption that want to basically take over new territory, and they will extinct all real commerce and production. That's why Venezuela now only has power a few hours a day in their major cities, and now they can't even get the power on half the time for the socialist leader to address everyone on the big screen TVs they've handed out that they stole from private importers. And you can look at what comes out of the end of something. You can look at what the fruits are of gangs, of collectivism, of centralization, and the wages of it are giant steaming piles of poison. Not big steaming piles of horse crap. No, because that is actually valuable. You can fertilize with that. That's it's not right to call it BS. Because it's not BS. It is a negative value. It's not just neutral value. It doesn't have a low value. It has a negative value. So, of course, it runs around with high-tech propaganda telling the public that it's done a great thing. But it's all a fraud. And it's all coming to an end. The question is, how bad is it going to be coming to an end? We're going to have a civil war, going to have World War III, going to have bioweapons released as the elite try to maintain control and play God and merge with machines and all this delusional crud they're involved in? Or do we just have a major awakening to this, politically, spiritually, culturally, racially as a human race, and not repeat the worst disasters of history with a high-tech icing? Because you're going to have a high-tech nightmare technocratic icing to this. It's going to make it 1,000 times worse than we've ever seen. And Lord willing, we'll be here live for the next 3 hours. We've got the TV newsman and presenter Lionel, syndicated radio host and TV host in New York, joining us because he's a former lawyer and prosecutor in the state of Florida to break down just a whole host of issues that are unfolding around the country. Always great to have him pop in with us for the last 40 minutes of the second hour. Kurt Nimmo is going to talk about attacks on the First Amendment and free speech worldwide and moves to tax the internet that are now being proposed and moved forward very aggressively with the Supreme Court's help He's going to be joining us in the last 15 minutes of the transmission today or so, and we will have open phones. Now, here's the deal. I have masses of news, and I'm going to try again to just give you the headlines and then burrow into some of these top stories in detail. But I want to talk about the nature of psychology and the nature of how people work, because once you know how to push people's buttons, the average person is totally unconscious, and you can literally walk up to them, men and women, but especially women, and program them. You can literally, absolutely manipulate about 80% of people. And I've just come to the conscious realization that I never do that. I'm open when I try to get people to wake up and realize what's happening, but it fundamentally comes down with this broadcast and Infowars.com and everything we do here. Because I was thinking this morning about what is my main mission? What do I stand for? What do people that I like to be around stand for? And it's for being real and trying to unlock humanity, empower humanity, uplift humanity, and uplift ourselves individually as well to build a truly better world through free association and free will. And I know that's really a simple statement, but it's also profound. That most people do not operate from that position. They've been such failures throughout life because the system's designed to disempower, or at least they believe they're failures, that they actually believe that the fraud of the system is going to empower them, and that they believe a gangster scam culture is really what successful people do, because the establishment has put that idea out, and that they're converting the economy over to an unfair, fraudulent crime system because it's the ultimate form of discrimination, because the globalists control the police and the courts and the systems, and so they can selectively enforce wherever they want. And once you give into a fraudulent, corrupt system and believe that's the way to go, then you've converted and dominated the society. And as things get corrupt, it forces good people to stop working within the system, because the system is a fraud and it's an impossible equation to be successful within the tyranny. And then that implodes things even further, which is actually the end game goal of this parasitic mindset that has plagued humanity since our first agrarian civilizations were formed 10,000 years ago. Humans are communicating at a Stone Age level of leadership actually wanting people to have food and water and to find the game and to find the good areas in the valleys to plant crops and to survive. And so the average person at a subconscious level really looks at leaders as if they want to help the tribe. But from the time of the ancient priest class being set up, there's always been groups that have learned how humans work and then sabotaged from birth successive generations to domesticate their fellow humans as slaves. And again, this is a well-known historical fact. I'm not giving you some revelation here, except that our whole civilization is now developed around this to a very high order, and the public has been turned into the most dumb, servile, shallow, wicked, evil, grasping, foolish, unhappy, unfulfilled group in preparation for the mass removal of humanity. We must first be spiritually and physically broken so that we will not organize against the final takeover with an establishment that is the worst of the worst, who've been smoking their own political poison, and who actually believe, like the pharaohs and the British royalty and the Roman emperors and every other elite, the Aztec kings and their priest class, that they are going to become God in their narcissistically driven megalomania. And I can see the entire historical chain of events and exactly where it's leading, and it is spectacularly evil. It is going to be the manifestation of the worst demonic trances and hallucinations from the literal dimension of Hades itself manifest in the third dimension. Because humans are designed to be able to build in the image of God. We are creators. And now evil is going to jack into that, and actually for the first time, evil will not be a pure destroyer. It will be a builder of total abomination. The devil wants to be God, and the devil is going to be given the power through human slaves to be a creator. And this is going to be spectacular. They say that on the Isle of Patmos, John the Revelator marveled with his mouth hanging open. I can imagine, because I can see it as well, just politically, scientifically, by being immersed in it historically. I can see the vision of the top New World Order. I have seen where they're taking us, and it is beyond my even comprehension. I can focus in on pieces of it and its dark fractal vortices, but to actually pull back, it is a hallucination out of the mind of total abomination. Because I could sit here and analyze all this news for you. You notice the system wants to turn everything good on its head. It wants to pull down everything beautiful. It wants to destroy and deceive and betray for betrayal's sake. And I look out at our enemies, and they are so weak. They are so hollow. They are empty. I don't even have the capacity to hate them anymore. Because I'm not looking at people. I'm staring through and seeing they are biological androids. Literal, unconscious replicants. Who have been completely programmed and who have given up their free will by fraud from birth in front of the television, inculcated with false fantasies, and the average person in their own brainwaves is in a dreamlike waking trance. And that's why you can walk up and literally program 80+% of the public. But I won't do it. I will not sit there with someone else, because I'm losing my soul when I do it. I can feel it if I sit there and actually manipulate people. And then I see other people trying to manipulate me, and I don't even know how to respond, because it's literally like an animated meat puppet. A zombie. That's where the zombie archetype is. They're telling you you're a zombie. And that's where it's set. And you look at the typecast police, the typecast groups of any type, and you can literally tell who someone is, what they do, and I can walk over and ask them. It freaks people out, freaks my wife out. Across the board, I can guess what their profession is, even if they're not dressed in any way like it, just by their bearing and manner, because they've literally gone under corporate programming, and I recognize the exact tailor of their programming, the cut of it. And all I want is to empower humanity. All I want is reap what you sow. All I want is to see people flourish and be successful. And then I see the system full of a bunch of cowardly, fearful, delusional, grasping nobodies who've made themselves nobodies because they've been captured in the web of deceit. And then I see all of my own weakness and all of my own worldliness, but I do see it falling away. Like one of the crew described it like rocket boosters falling off the shuttle as it gets ready to escape the atmosphere. And I just really want to see you win. I want to see you succeed. I want to see humanity spread through the universe and really become what God has envisioned for us. And I know God's vision for humanity because God's told us his vision for humanity. And it's prosperity and it's blessings stacked on top of blessing. But to do that, we have to have free will. And so that's why evil is allowed to operate. And people can call God cruel. It's not cruel. It is free will as God tests souls that for eternity will serve in projects at a galactic, subatomic, pan-universal system of things that we cannot even comprehend. This is boot camp. But in the general public, it is a bunch of sleepwalking, unconscious people that have no idea the type of attack they're under by social engineers that want to keep you unconscious so you can literally be a slave controlled by their programming under their trance, under their spell. That's what it is. America is under the spell of Hollywood, under the spell of Obama. But they're beginning to break that spell, and so they're moving on to new front people, new pushers of fraud. We've got to get back to the ancient common sense, and you've got to get back to following your gut. And people's gut says the government's evil. 94% of Americans in Gallup say the government's illegitimate, and they don't like it. This government is not a government. It has been hijacked. It has been inverted. It is the opposite of what it was set up to do. Of course they demonize the Bill of Rights and Constitution. Of course they demonize the founders who were trailblazers in their day of liberty and who led the way for even more freedom. Because it's the antidote to the ancient poison of slavery that rears its head in 1,000 different ways. So they only teach you the last slavery or the last tyranny. So you're looking for it to come in the uniform of Adolf Hitler. Or you're looking for it to come in the uniform of a Klansman. Or you're looking for it to come in the uniform of Joseph Stalin when it's in the uniform of nameless, faceless, systematic bureaucrats with the regulations written by offshore above-the-law banks. Let me just give you headlines. I'm going to do this, okay? I'm not going to comment on the stories. I'm going to do it. No security ever built into Obamacare's site, CNBC. We told you that. That's a fact. It was written to steal your data. Piers Morgan, the perfect Barack Obama, who's a perfect physical specimen. We have video of that, and now he's going to get another tickle up his leg. Obama's going to go on Chris Matthews' Slimeball show. Why are so many wealthy people buying futuristic, high-tech security bunkers? That's up on Infowars.com. Why are the establishment digging in? Because most of them got their wealth through fraud and government contracts, or they made their money the honest way and know that the elite are going to sick the unwashed masses on them during the re-engineering that is the implosion. Let's continue. Oh, yes, that's the great re-education camp that America's being set up to be. You think it's bad now? This is only the beginning. And I'm not trying to scare you, folks. It's all coming, like a hurricane coming in. You think the winds are high now? It hadn't hit yet. I can't choose reality up here and just tell you everything's roses. It isn't. But it's the desperate test that will purify and cleanse us and decide who we are. Let's continue. Ohio court. Polite drivers are not suspicious. That's right. That's in the Homeland Security training manual. Is anyone nice to police or polite is a terrorist? You think I'm joking? Look it up. But being rude is being a terrorist. Or having a cell phone, or wearing jeans, or having children, or being a priest, or having a baby stroller. I'm not kidding. These are all actual quotes. Being a gun owner, being a veteran, being conservative, being a Ron Paul supporter, being an Alex Jones listener, having a tattoo of the Gadsden flag. I mean, there's literally hundreds of these FBI training flyers. Venezuela's socialists can't keep the lights on. Country with largest oil reserves in the world can't provide rudimentary service. Yes, Venezuela's gotten far worse since socialism came in. It worked for a while, always does, and then kills incentive. And then you don't even have a pot to you-know-what in. We're also going to be getting into the really big news. I'm just going to the first stack here in order. NFL bans Super Bowl gun commercial. It's too offensive, they said. We're going to play the ad coming out in the next segment for radio listeners and for TV viewers. And again, they can have violent video game ads. They can push all the military ads to get you to join the military, to be a guinea pig and fight for the New World Order. They can have the total gangster culture of it. But you just want to have a pro-Second Amendment ad. No, you can't. And the NFL has signed on to push anti-gun and Obamacare as official sponsors. So I'm calling, I want everyone to join me in an NFL boycott. And I got a lot of people that work at my office that watch NFL football. I get it. I played football. I know. I like it too. But if you don't boycott it, if my people can't boycott it, we have no future. If you can't sacrifice the stupid gladiatorial event that has stolen our manhood as a culture and turned men into a bunch of people that sit on their butts watching other men all day instead of being real men in your own life, then you deserve to lose everything, and you will. But I know most men who are even awake can't give it up. They cannot give up their male soap opera and watching all their boyfriends. We'll be right back. Stay with us. At prisonplanet.tv, that's the subscription news site. Prisonplanet.com is the auxiliary mirror, but it's not really a mirror. It has a lot of exclusive news that Infowars.com does not. And here we are on this Tuesday edition. Your phone calls are going to be coming up on the issues that I've raised. I'd love to get your take on many of the other issues I'm about to throw out. So let me cover some more of the news before I get into the NFL, censorship, and more. Then I'll dive back into that and give out the toll-free number again for first-time callers. And we tend to get a wave of callers that have been drinking cough syrup and are half awake, or we get super informed awake callers. So I would like folks to call in, because we don't really screen the calls, who are not injecting heroin. So I'll be giving that phone number out coming up here in just a little while. I'm just joking around. Sometimes it's like incredibly dynamic, smart, informed callers who are willing to put up with being interrupted by me and sitting on hold. And then other times it's kind of like, huh, what? Oh, yeah, I really love you, Alex. I guess because they've been on hold for 20 minutes. But we're going to give the number out coming up. Let me just continue reading some of the headlines here for folks. Female Fort Hood soldiers recruited for prostitution ring. Trial hears. A 17-year veteran accused of using service set up by coordinator of base's sex assault and harassment prevention program. And they admit that they were using that program to coordinate the basically sexual exploitation of women. Statistically, in criminology, the CPS will have the highest level, Child Protective Services, of pedophiles. Statistically, you'll have the highest level of sadist in the police force. Statistically, you'll have an incredibly high level of child abusers in the truancy officer division. Statistically, you'll have a lot of drug addicts that are in the DEA or in the medical field. And you ask, why is that? They're always catching game wardens poaching stuff. Because they get into it because they're obsessed with it, and they want to be on the inside to carry out the criminal operations. That's why tyranny is such a problem historically, because even if you have a good government, people will become lackadaisical and trusting of it because it is a good government. The people will become prosperous and go to sleep and forget the lessons of tyranny, and then the corruption creeps back in and then takes over and then purges everybody and then collapses, and the cycle goes on and on. Sometimes civilizations can jump the end of the cycle. You think we're going to jump the end of the cycle this time? No, I think it's going to be, in fact, I know it's going to be the final arbiter on whether humanity goes to the next level or whether we destroy the planet. So the big, giant challenge is here. Will we destroy ourselves with the advanced fission fusion, antimatter discoveries they've made on record, the artificial black holes they've been creating for 20 years, the super weapons, the bioweapons that kill 99% of all mammals they come in contact with, nanotech, GMO, cross-splicing hybrids of plants and animals and humans, pig-human hybrids, human-chimpanzee hybrids, been alive in laboratories on record for 20 years. Details remain classified. I mean, look, the elite are already living in the future. That's why they're so arrogant. Heaven knows what horridness they've created or mutated. I mean, the stuff we know is so Buck Rogers on PCP that I don't even know what to say at this point. Meanwhile, people are worried about Kim Kardashian and Kanye West and Justin Bieber. Literally projections of nothingness to make sure that you never figure out what's going on in the Matrix or on the island. This is not my opinion. This is 100% in all of their globalist publications. They sit around and brag how they were putting everybody... Edward Bernays wrote in the 30s how they were creating a false culture to literally envelop everyone to where people wouldn't even know they were slaves. And then you read his books, every page is how they launched this and how they launched that and how they did this and how they did that. And then you realize your whole culture... I mean, about half our culture, literally, was launched by Edward Bernays. America wonders why our culture took over. Not American culture that took over. It was globalist, weaponized culture that took over. Using America's good, rough name, trailblazing name, using the world's goodwill for us, packaged with a Trojan horse payload of scientific villainy. I mean, I start to think about it. It's just, I can't believe that we've even gotten to this point. But people buy into the fact that they're a conservative, or they're a liberal, or they support Obama, or they support Boehner. Well, I'm a mainline Republican. I get invited to the local Republican meetings, not like you bad patriot people that say we're under tyranny and don't act ladylike or gentlemanly. I mean, it's just... I mean, literally, you're talking to someone in the Matrix. It's like arguing with a schizophrenic homeless person who runs over to your car and starts cussing at you. It'd be like rolling the window down and getting out in a fight with them. Why don't you get out and get in a fight with a homeless person that cusses at you and says they want to kick your butt? But if some guy in a nice truck, well-dressed, rolls down his window and says, I'm going to kick your butt, I don't like you, you actually take it personal and go, I hadn't done nothing, I'll kick your butt. Because you care about what somebody who looks like they're informed says. You don't get upset by a poor schizophrenic person talking to themselves on the side of the street who sees you and makes eye contact and says, you killed my mother. Sometimes you even roll your window down and say, here's $10. Look, I'm your friend. I'm not the one. I don't want to hurt you. I've even learned how to talk to mentally ill schizophrenics. You just go, I'm not with the bad guys. You don't tell them, hey, you're crazy. You just go, I'm not with the bad guys. And that's kind of like how it is with the general public. Cop pulls me over acting all weird. I go, you know this is all your training, and I haven't done anything wrong. And you know this is foolish how you're acting. And I care about you and your family. Oh, okay, well, you can go. No one's ever even talked to them like that. I said I'd cover the news. Oh, here it is. Fort Hood soldiers recruited for prostitution ring trial hears. And it was the Women Abuse and Sexual Harassment Division. See, just like MSNBC runs the witch hunt for white racist, but they're actually perpetuating total racial division, it's the same deal. You run and promote the racism and the division so you can continue to manage it. Let's go to the next thing. I'm going to cover this later in detail because this is a big deal. I'll cover this at the start of the next hour because I actually can't believe this is actually debated by people. I hear this all the time. Are men and women different? I don't know. Gee, can I have babies? As a male, can I have a baby? No. Can a woman walk on to the Dallas Cowboys and then go play NFL level football? No. I've always explained this to everyone. Women have 3 times the connections between left and right hemisphere. This has been known for about 80 years. I'm going to show folks a document cam shot of this. But now the London Guardian is reporting on a big scientific brain scan study that we already know. Folks, when I've been in DARPA research laboratories that I was allowed into at the University of Texas, this is all they're working on is how to program men and women. Down to subliminal messages in TV advertisements to sexually excite women and to create a sexual subconscious feeling, towards a particular type of fabric softener. Just like the beer ads or drink this beer, beautiful woman show up. That's overt. It's total weaponized. And then you tell women, you're being targeted by mind control. Oh, shut up, you male chauvinist. I know how to be free. I keep men down. Oh, yeah. Really, they just broke the human family in two, and then they've already won, dividing us at that point first. All the different TV shows show the woman getting in her man's face and putting him in his place, and that's how she's empowered. Oh, yeah, that's how women get ahead in this universe, is bringing their man down. And why do they target women? Because women are the heart of the family, the engine of the entire system. They target 80+% of advertising at women. Talk radio is different because males listen to information more. And that's in the study here. And they've studied our brains, and they give men simulated war. We watch simulated football, and guys go, oh, Alex, I know it is, but I like it. And I'm like, it's mind control. The creator of the Olympics, French royalty, related to Napoleon Bonaparte, I forget the guy's name, who created the Olympics in 1914, he said, we'll use this as the new religion to enslave everyone. I mean, I read his writings. Look up the creator of the Olympics, the French nobleman, the French elitist, who Hitler was a big fan of later, by the way, and he adopted his designs and ideas. The point is that if you just type in the creator of the Olympics, it's the first thing that comes up. It's a Frenchman. I just want to get his name. Again, this is the whole thing about history. They admit they've programmed everybody. That's what I keep trying to get to here. I'll go to Google. It's no big deal. Let's just see how fast I can get it. Oh, there it is. Olympic Games. Baron. It's too far away for me to read. Pierre de Coubertin. That's him. Baron Pierre de Coubertin. There you go. That's. And of course, he didn't invent all this. He just invented the modern inculcation of how the Romans used it and others used it. We need to use it. That's how we, basically. And of course, they spin it when they write it up saying, the French lost World War I, he believed, because which they really didn't lose, but no, he's talking about the previous war. The French lost a war with the Germans, I guess with Bismarck, because they weren't athletic enough and they needed to be tougher. But that was only on the surface of his writings. It doesn't matter. See, people ask why I go off in so many different directions. It's because it's all interconnected. And the male mind, on average, it doesn't mean that there aren't female minds who at strategy are just as good as any other man. It just means on average, men have larger cerebral cortex. You understand that? Larger cerebral brain processing, and they have on average 3 times less connections between left and right hemispheres. So women have better intuition and a lot of other issues with a larger, deeper subconscious pool of race knowledge. But they're there to then choose men that actually will lead the tribe to a higher level. Then they choose their mate generally. And it varies between different mammalian species, but it's generally the same. But in birds, other animals, it's different. And it gets into some really sophisticated areas. The whole point is that they've now jacked into women and give them false programming about what will make society successful, and that is bringing down men when they're actually bringing down themselves, their children, and the entire society. And it's all been done scientifically. See, I say I'm going to go to this news later, and I just start covering it now. But we could talk about this for years. And literally, when you talk about this, they have now and all these organizations that claim they represent women, who are really Rockefeller and CIA-controlled groups on record. Gloria Steinem admits she's CIA and was there to get women into the workforce so they could get double taxes and break up the family. And again, it's not defending any other system that was there before. The point is that they claimed all this civil rights movement for women as a way to literally end the human species as we know it. And you can now see them doing it. And it's all weaponized. And literally people sit around and go, oh, no, women can be in combat just like men. Oh, no, women, in strategy are just... No, they're not. None of the top chess players are women. And don't worry, the computer's already beat all the men. A decade ago, Deep Blue and all the rest of it. And they've also found, and there's genetic variations, but people that live in worse climates, especially freezing climates, genetically have the highest ability mathematically in test scores. Doesn't matter if you're a Russian from up, near the North Pole or from Northern Europe or wherever, or if you're Japanese folks up where it gets really cold. Back in the old days, especially in the last ice age, 10,000 years ago, if you made a miscalculation and stayed out past dark, you were going to die. They've done studies of people in northern climes with an inner time clock who actually can tell in studies what time it is. Because if you didn't, you were dead, ladies and gentlemen. And then they found in other environments and things, groups of humans that have more advanced faculties in other areas. Because humans have become specialized depending on what area they were in. And they don't want you to have strategy. They don't want you to have cunning. They don't want you to have an instinct to help others. They want you to have an instinct to bring others down, believing that that is going to empower you. And the only time that bringing others down to empower you is in the ancient system of you have an overpopulation area and you've got to take over someone else's agrarian farming belt to supply your population with food. But now with technology, we have unlimited energy structures if we decide to begin colonizing off-world. And that's the only step humans have left is to go to the stars, to look to the stars immediately. See, I'm just getting into philosophy. I mean, there's all this news out there, but of course the Pentagon has been forged into an imperial army to take over and abuse people and to carry out forms of evil. And the subconscious mind knows the mission is overall dehumanizing, so of course they're going to turn the women into camp hookers, named after General Hooker, who had large groups of hookers that they brought around to Northern soldiers. Of course they're going to do that. And then we've got such a dumbed-down population that they actually think it's sexist to say that men and women are different when men and women are as different as night and day. And that's why the night and day meet. And you can debate if a man is day or a woman is day or who's night. Doesn't matter. Because the human species is not a man. The human species is not a woman. The human species is the man and the woman. And the children and the journey we've had together through the entire development under God's watchful direction of this species towards the great challenge we now begin to arrive at in the 21st century. These are the real big ideas you're not meant to think about. This is what the controllers think about, and they've decided you're going to be dumbed down, you're going to be poisoned, so you're ready for extermination. On Fox and here, they weren't saying ban energy drinks. I was watching CNN in there, and they were saying, get rid of them because they're evil, let the government take them over or tax them. And then I came in here, and it was Fox News talking about how it makes the heart beat faster. Oh, we need a study for that? Actually, most of the studies show that moderate caffeine is actually good for the average person and their cardiovascular system. You can look those up if you want. Now, the argument is people are so sedentary that that's why it's good for them, that if you're really in good shape, it probably isn't good for you. But it's a very complex issue. The point is that moderation of coffee, the overwhelming evidence shows it's good for you. Just like if I could drink 1 glass of red wine a night, it would be good for me. The problem is I want to drink 5 glasses of red wine, hence I don't do it. And it doesn't matter. There's just so much news. I mean, I've gotten through like 1 stack. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more stacks. I haven't gotten into the Second Amendment thing. Adon Salazar's waiting to write an article about my announcement I'm going to make right now. And I'm going to shoot a video on this afternoon so we can have a special report running on the Nightly News and on YouTube. But, I mean, I've had enough of the NFL, and I think you've had enough of it as well. I mean, I'm sure you have. I see your emails. I see your comments. Pushing Obamacare, pushing anti-gun messages, officially signed on with the White House. They are using the Roman games to actually try to overturn the Republic. We don't have the Russians beaming propaganda in here saying, turn on your guns, Americans, or socialize your health care and bankrupt America. We have the NFL doing it. And I'm sick of watching egomaniac drug heads on a bunch of synthetic growth hormone and stuff, completely out of their minds, with their pit bulls and all the rest of it, I mean, I've already been boycotting the NFL for a long time, but I'm calling on everybody to boycott it. I mean, all I see men doing is fantasy football and bragging like it's battle strategy about knowing more than the coaches. That's why you're not doing good financially. It's why your country's been stolen. They're shutting the nation down. Don't you take that personal? You're under scientific, mechanized attack, and you really, really, really are an expert in simulated warfare with a bunch of arrogant gladiators fighting with each other. I mean, who cares? I'm boycotting it. Because if you go up to Infowars.com, we have the video. NFL bans Super Bowl gun commercial, says it's too offensive. Here is the ad from Daniel Defense that they say can't air. This is tyranny. Here it is. They have Illuminati ceremonies during every halftime with women's breasts hanging out, Madonna crawling all over everything, acting ridiculous. They would never have Obamacare propaganda about how the NFL supports the president and the destruction of our already screwed up healthcare system by design. And now they won't let you run the most wholesome Daniel Defense ad where it shows a father driving home saying it took a long time to get here. He walks in the house and it's a picture of his baby, his wife, him in the Marine Corps. Comes in, he closes the door, goes in and kisses his wife, picks up the baby, and then it just cuts to a website, Daniel Defense. And they said, quote, it's too offensive. You know why? Because it's a loving father coming in straight and strong with his wife and his daughter. And they're a team. You do not show that, period. This government is our enemy and is sworn to hurt everything good. My God, how obvious does this have to get, people? It's pure evil. You cannot show a father in a good light. You cannot show a man saying, I have a right to defend my family. No. You can put all the political commercials you want. You can have the Attorney General meet with the media heads and say, we need to have nothing but anti-gun messages in the public's mind. We need to brainwash these people. And then you have that incredibly wholesome ad, and it's got them pulling their hair out. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, I see people at restaurants watching stuff. I'm going to walk over and say, you know, they're anti-gun, and shame on you watching that. I tell you, these people are dumb. And I'm telling you, I absolutely hate these fake men that all they do is watch sports all day and brag how much they know about them. I mean, you people are literally living in a fantasy land. We are under attack. Every form of liberty is being gutted in front of us and chopped up. And you are literally watching modern sports designed to distract men. Because men are designed to be building and constructing and innovating and being leaders. But the average man is like a 10-year-old trying to be cool in Arrested Development, and so is the average woman. And that's really it. I don't like being in a culture of children. It's not an elitist statement about how grievously childlike in a bad way, like petulant 10 or 11-year-olds, the general public is, while these idiots are pulling the political lever to disarm me, to destroy my private property, destroy your private property, to wreck the engine of prosperity because the globalists want to run everything. And these idiots will giggle at you and say, I'm with the establishment. They think because they buy into it that they're now part of it when they're absolutely in the crosshairs, absolutely under precision, 200 IQ military attack. And by the way, I've studied some of the top technocrats. They are some of the most unhappy, horrible people. Most of their kids literally end up committing suicide or dying of cancer young. They are the most cursed people. But I can look in their eyes. They are crazed with the ice-cold love of power and death. And they're keeping people. They tell them, oh, you're supposed to be a teenager. Don't be politically involved. And then now, oh, you're supposed to be a kid till you're 25, and then you're supposed to make money, and then you're retired. Oh, I'm retired now. I'm not worried about that. Like being involved and being in the service of humanity is a bad thing. When it's what you're meant to do, it's what empowers you. And I just want to see humanity win. I'm on the team of Team Humanity against Team Technocrat. That's why I'm angry. You're playing games in the sandbox, folks, while the giant war of the heavens is going on all around you. We need people. We need a few good men. Let me just finish up with some of these headlines. If you just joined us. Male and female brains wired differently, scans reveal. But if you say that men and women are different, that's sexist. Well, I mean, I can't have a baby, can I? It's just ridiculous. It's social engineering, folks, to put women in frontline combat. Islamist rebels seize part of ancient Syrian Christian town, take nuns captive. RT's reporting that. And there's just all sorts of al-Qaeda taking over the Middle East. I've got a big stack of news on that front today. Also, the Financial Times is reporting what we were telling you yesterday. This rollout by Jeff Bezos of Amazon, saying they're going to have thousands of drones per city delivering everything. This is involved with the government to condition everyone, and these drones will actually make a lot of their money off of Humet intelligence to send back video to humans watching it and to face scan and to read license plates. So, and members of Congress are now announcing that. This is just the full onslaught of, we're going to launch thousands of drones per city. Oh, cute, the drone came and dropped something off at the party. And this is just setting the precedent where these corporations with their robot cars and robot 18-wheelers and robot larger delivery systems will be able to basically take over the world because they're much cheaper than humans now. And folks are like, well, that's just progress. No, we need to decide our development. That is one of the most basic human traits, is that we can decide our own environment and try to build our own future, unlike animals. Like, that's probably the greatest human trait, that and empathy. And we're allowing other small groups of humans, through government and regulations, and through creating monopolies like Amazon and Walmart have done, with all sorts of really, in my view, criminal actions. Amazon's almost bankrupted the major publishing industries out there, even for small publishers, because they won't let you sell your product there unless you give it to them about 65, 70% off. And by the time you do that, they then lower the price. Let's say the book should be $20, big hardbound, expensive book. You need to sell tens of thousands to even make your money back. They will sell it for $9. And guess what? You sold it to them for $8 or $7. And so you make a couple dollars because of the cost of the book and the promotion and all of it. And then they get the book and they make a couple dollars. And so it's not even free market because they become the market and then freeze everyone out and operate at a level meant to shut down their competition. So there you go. I remember the FAA came out 3 years ago and said, we're going to authorize 30,000 drones in the skies for deliveries and surveillance and everything else by 2020. And half of those will be in the air by 2015. And that was like 2011. And I was only reading what the FAA put out, and Kurt Nimmo and Watson wrote articles, and DrudgeReport.com picked it up. And then so people were upset about it, and Congress started having hearings. So they just came out in the news and said I was a liar. There were no drones. No drones. None. And we're like, well, wait, we have the FAA. We have Wired Magazine admitting they're using predators on, people that are growing crops they're not supposed to, or building barns they're not supposed to, or, they claim stealing neighbors' cows. And they're like, shut up, liar. Shut up, deeply racist. I'm like, I'm for unity and humans coming together. Shut up, racist. And then behind the scenes, these MSNBC people, I've had them physically attack me in Colorado with a knife, cut the cord on my megaphone to violate my free speech because the Denver police wouldn't arrest me and violate the First Amendment to their credit. Got to hand that to the Denver police. For 2 hours, they told them, shut me down with my bullhorn. They said, nope, First Amendment. As long as he doesn't block traffic with his crowd. So they sent over like a 6.5 foot, 7 foot guy, he was just giant, to grab and cut the wire. So we had our own giant guy there and hoisted folks up on his back, and I went and got another bullhorn, and we bullhorned the crowd. We went to Radio Shack and bought one. Will you guys type in MSNBC attacks Alex Jones? I think that's the headline on YouTube. You can actually see the guy do it. But the point here is, don't even know why I went off into that story, is that they're afraid of people power. And they're just rolling all of this out. Amazon drones, 9 ways it could go horribly wrong. And then they go over the 9 ways. Packages fall from the sky, hacking, theft, the weather, friendly fire, lost bearings, airspace restrictions, diversions, making cars wreck. Yeah. How about face scanning you as they're already doing and surveilling you and using it to stalk people and on and on and on and on and on and on. And again, Amazon is a globalist front company. That's even come out in the news. I was the first to tell you. Not bragging. They don't allow these big companies to get that big and operate, folks, unless they're part of the club. Hong Kong confirms first case of H7N9 bird flu. That's not good news. Yeah, they're going to claim down the road everything they've set up is for bio-attack. There'll be other stuff they do, but they may just go right to a weapon that kills almost everybody. Or they could release something. I think they like to test things, so they'll release something that only kills, 10 million people first, I would guess. And then they'll use that as a medical tyranny to put in control. And then they'll release something that kills 1 billion people. And then they'll test the response to that. And then they'll release something that kills everyone, 100% of people that come in contact with it. But then it will be a mutagen designed to then mutate into a non-lethal pathogen within 1 year. That will be the attack pattern prime projection analysis from all of the enemy transmissions and reverse engineered preparations. So they've got it in test tubes right now to wipe everybody out. And listen, what matters is you get your heart right with God. If they do go ahead with that, if we're not able to stop them, just remember as you're dying with your family that the system did it to you, and just get right with God. Don't worship the government and the system and the beast worldwide system as you're dying. Don't call 911. They're not going to help you. They're all going to be dying too. All right, there you go. I know it's hardcore. It's reality. And you'll laugh now. You probably won't laugh later. I mean, I hope we can stop it and people can say, oh, he said this was going to happen. All the preparations are for that. And so you just need to know that's in the cards. And they could do it tomorrow. They could do it 10 years from now. But they are prepared. COG is for them to go underground and survive it while everyone's wiped out. There'll be a nostalgia for those that, it's a Rand Corporation plan, actually. There'll be a nostalgia for those left behind that died. They'll be given a false story. Everyone's already been tested for government connections, corporate connections, genetic connections. They have the Adam and Eve list of eugenic prime types that they're going to, it's really people they want to have sex with, that are going to be brought into the underground bases and all the rest of it. It's just totally Dr. Strangelove. And I hope you all enjoy it. That's all I can say. I mean, believe me, all the dumb NFL players, they're going to be up top. And believe me, Kim Kardashian didn't get a ticket in. That's the first person the New World Order wants dead, is people like that. They absolutely abhor anything they sell you. They don't want you to like anything good. That might uplift your soul. They want your soul. To get your soul, it's got to be dumbed down. They traffic in the souls of men. What passage is that in Revelation? Babylon, Babylon the Great has fallen in 1 hour. The merchants from their ships beat their breast and poured ashes on their head, for it had all fallen in 1 hour. They were wicked. They trafficked in everything on earth, bought and sold humanity as chattel. They even trafficked in the souls of men. Fallen, fallen, you found it. Revelation 18. After this, I saw another angel coming down from heaven. He had great authority, and the earth was illuminated by his splendor. The Illuminati is a counterfeit of the real Illuminati. With a mighty voice, he shouted, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling for demons and a haunt for every impure spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird, a haunt for every unclean and detestable animal. For all the nations have drunk the maddening wine of her adulteries. The kings of the earth committed adultery with her, and the merchants of the earth grew rich from the excessive luxuries." When I heard another voice from heaven say, "Come out of her, my people, so that you will not share in her sins, so that you will not receive any of her plagues. For her sins are piled up to heaven, and God has remembered her crimes. Give back to her as she has given. Pay her back double for what she has done. Pour her a double portion from her own cup. Give her as much torment and grief as the glory and luxury she gave herself. In her heart she boasts, I sit enthroned as queen. I am not a widow. I will never mourn. Therefore, in one day, her plagues will overtake her. Death, mourning, and famine. She will be consumed by fire. For mighty is the Lord God who judges her. Continue. When the kings of the earth who committed adultery with her and shared her luxury see the smoke of her burning, they will weep and mourn over her, terrified at her torment. They will stand off far and cry from their spacecraft and underground bases and submarines. Woe, woe to you, great city, you mighty city of Babylon. In 1 hour, your doom has come. The merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her because no one buys their cargoes anymore. Cargoes of gold, silver, precious stones, and pearls, fine linen, purple silks, and scarlet cloth. Every sort of citron wood, articles of every kind, and even the souls. I'm going to find that part when we come back. For the rest of the hour, we're going to be joined by a very interesting fellow who I always enjoy getting on. I want to get him on about a host of issues, and I'm going to ask him about all sorts of news and throw wild cards at him. We're going to cover the waterfront of news with him, but first find out what's first and foremost on his radar, because he's a former prosecutor and a really good lawyer, not just a TV host on the news in New York and a syndicated radio host. But I was reading out of Revelation 18, whether you see it as a warning about corrupt civilizations or whether you see it as prophecy, regardless, it certainly fits with our day. And it says that the merchants of the earth trafficked in slaves and the souls of men. That's Revelation 18:13. King James Version. And says the same in the Greek out of the Hebrew and the Aramaic. So that's what we're talking about. And at the bottom of this, my faith has become stronger. Not all the fake stuff in the churches, but my personal understanding of good and evil, how real it is. Studying the global engineers, they want your mind from a secular perspective. They really want to control your free will. That's why they tell you you have no free will. And top globalists are all extremely into the occult, folks. And they tell you to be an atheist because they don't want you even thinking about all that going on, because that's the higher things. Whether you think it's a part of your brain that is attracted to that or whatever, brain waves go higher in all the studies when you're in a spiritual situation. You're more creative. You're more giving. They don't want you to be like that. Whether it's really spiritual or part of our physiology, there's no debate. It's there. A God-shaped vacuum, and they don't want you going there because then you're going to worship that, and they can't get you to sell your intellect and your free will to them. They want to control the spark of free intellect. I've gone off on some really heavy topics today. We've got huge Obamacare news, huge news with CPS chopping women over to steal their babies out of their wombs. It's just going to get more insane, folks. This is what happens when governments are out of control. That's Joseph Mengele level stuff. And we've also got huge Al-Qaeda news. We've got huge Snowden news as The Guardian now basically faces criminal prosecution by the criminal British government for exposing the criminal activity of the NSA, which is their duty. I told you they're heroes, folks. So are we, quite frankly, the whistleblowers we've had on. They're going after him, and the Guardian says, look, we only publish 1%. Oh, yeah, folks. Well, listen, we actually know all about the NSA. I'm trying to explain this to everybody. Because it's an insider, it caught on. They tried to block it. Wayne Madsen had his article removed off The Guardian. We know everything about it. We know everything, okay? It's so big. There's contractors, how it's funded, how it's designed. They had to get the funding in the Telecommunications Act and other acts before that. We've had so many whistleblowers on. We're going to go to Lionel. I'm ranting here. Lionel, of course, is LionelMedia.com, and he's on Pix 11 News in New York, and I always enjoy having him on to give his perspective. He's in the top most important radio talk show host of all time, according to Talkers Magazine, and more, LionelMedia.com. Hey, Lionel, we're only got about 2 minutes before we go to break, but I threw out a bunch of stuff here. We're going to come back and get into free speech attacks and drones and everything that's happening, and Obamacare and all of it. But what do you think the nature of the universe is, and what do you think about the people running the planet?
Well, the first thing is, by the way, you never rant. Don't ever say you're ranting. I dig you. I understand what you're doing, because sometimes you have a tremendous amount of information that you have to get through this very small funnel that we call radio, because your brain is on fire and awash in ideas. So don't ever apologize for that. Let me tell you what happened this week to me, which blew my mind. Last week, as you know, was the 50th anniversary of the murder of President Kennedy. And I talked to a young man who had never seen the Zapruder film. Believe it or not, I was sitting side by side with him. Don't ask me how he missed it. He had heard about it. He saw it maybe in segments. He saw the portion that is the most horrible. This is, of course, the president's brain, the misting of the president right there before our eyes. And he let out a shriek and a bit of an expletive. And I said, let me ask you a question. I said, you know something about inertia. Where do you think that shot came from? He said, well, the front. I said, well, guess what? This is what the conspiracy theories are about. They say it came from the back. And I saw in his face a disbelief and a concomitant terror. And I thought, this is where we've gone.
Stay there. I want to explain this when we come back. We'll be right back. And I do want to go through a smattering of news here with him, but finish up with this awakening, or I haven't heard the rest of the story, or did the guy go into deep cognitive dissonance denial when he finally saw the Zapruder film? But we're going to go back to Lionel here in just a moment. Jay Carney, perfect name, a carnival barker. Nothing against folks that have the last name Carney, but come on. I mean, if the shoe fits. And he's up there saying you can keep your health care plan under this, and the site's working fine, even though the site's still not working. And folks, they can't have it work, because then people will find out what was in the bill, written by foreign insurance companies. I mean, Mitt Romney helped write it. I mean, the Republican fat cats want to keep it. It's a giant corporate tax, a screw job. But if you say you don't like it, you're racist. Anyways, Carney's on TV right now looking like a child who was caught basically, in the closet doing you-know-what, and mom opens the door. I mean, he just looks like he is just emanating, I'm a liar. And remember, Congress has a 6% approval rating now. I'm going to get his take on that, Lionel's take on that. But Lionel, finish your story. So go back. You see the head of the president vaporized, the whole back of his head, brains splattering all over the back of the vehicle. Even if someone's never fired a gun or never been hunting, and, you shoot a deer on the side of the head, the other side blows off. Shoot a deer in the front of the head, the back of the head blows off. I don't want to get graphic here. But the point is, you see war films, whatever. Everybody knows you shoot somebody in the front of the head, back of the head blows off. But so this man you're talking to finally sees this. You're a former prosecutor. You know how to put evidence on. Continue.
Well, what I said was, I said, this is not to say that this event is not without alternative theories and hypotheses. That's not the point. But what has happened, Alex, and you know this very well, is that we have taken this term conspiracy, a conspiracy theory. You know, the great Gore Vidal, whom you've interviewed, who I think is just, I mean, I watch him sometimes, and he's, to me, still alive. Some of the stuff he said speaks to me so well. He said he was not a conspiracy theorist. He was a conspiracy analyst. And he said there will come a day, if it's not already here, where it will be an article of faith that there are no conspiracy theories. Now, this word conspiracy merely means the confederation, the union, an agreement between two guilty parties to effectuate something. Most crimes, if you think about it, of any worth involve more than one person. Yeah, there's the lone wolf here and there. So the word is very, very black and white in criminal statutes, but it has taken, Alex, a new frame. It means crazy, far-fetched, paranoid, baseless. The other day, I'm very concerned about a number of things, obviously, in terms of this as well, but what we're eating and GMOs and labeling. And I asked somebody a question. I said, what is it? And it's because, of course, many big companies, Monsanto and DuPont and others, and Big Agra, have shown a concerted effort to try to dissuade us from labeling. So I asked this happened to be the same person, this question. I said, what do you not want to know that you're eating? So let me repeat that. What do you not want to know? Ground glass, asbestos, calories, fat content. Tell me what you know. And he said, well, of course, I want to know everything. Precisely. Why do you think that there is such a concerted and expensive effort to keep GMO contents from you? And he said, oh, is that a conspiracy theory? I said, wait a minute, stop. Conspiracy theory does not mean evil. Now it's gone from, unrealistic paranoia to somehow evil. This word has now enveloped everything. And then we have this group of people. And Alex, these people scare me. This is the professional skeptic. This is a person, and I love Penn and Teller and Penn Jillette's done some wonderful things, and some of the skeptics people have been very, very good, and the amazing Randy and done some wonderful stuff. But they start off with the premise a priori that I'm going to debunk something that you're advancing. That's intellectually disingenuous. If you want to, I'm sure you've run into these people as well. Atheists. These are people who think not only do they disbelieve or they are non-faith, but they start off with the premise that a person of faith, you or others, are insane, baseless. So you have these groups of people, and what's happening, Alex, is this anti-intellectual argument is now become personal. And you also meet people, and I'm going to tell you, this is the pro-conspiracy people. These are people who, to use that word, and I'm going to embrace it. I'm not going to fight it anymore. I'm going to use it as shorthand.
There's the other end that believes they can make reality by whatever they make up and whatever they say is true. That's the extreme of conspiracy theory. But that's what I found is that you can say they're devaluing the dollar, and they go, you're a conspiracy theorist. They use it as a crutch when you're not intellectually informed to say Obama is not related to Dick Cheney. And you say, no, actually, he's his ninth cousin. Here's Ancestry.com. Oh, they can just make that up. No, Obama admits it through his mother's family. So it's a way where the people denying conspiracy theory are saying they can choose reality. And then the extreme conspiracy people, they believe that they're like fiction writers, that when they write it, it's like they wrote it in starlight. It makes it come true. So there's both extremes of delusional people that meet around the back.
Precisely. But there's also something here that's happening. I told you that my dream one day is to be the psychologist general. Not the attorney general, not the surgeon general, but the psychologist general. And I would be empowered to create memes and themes and understandings and kind of an understanding of what is real and what isn't real. There's something called, speaking of Gore Vidal again, he said, we are the United States of amnesia. Just, it seems like yesterday, Mr. Kerry was saying to us that we must act immediately in Syria or else we will have hell to pay. Syria, 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 Syria. All of a sudden, he perhaps made a slip of tongue. Medvedev or Putin took him up or called his bet. And now Syria is off the mainstream media map.
Lindsey Graham was saying we would be nuked in South Carolina by Syria if we didn't attack them. CBS News.
You see, Alex, I must say something. If you've never heard the Alex Jones show, what you are is you are a citation freak. And the lawyer in me really loves this. In law, you have to have a citation. You can't say it's against the law to Mulberry's against the law. Who says? Section 220. So it's in my nature. I don't think you have ever given, and I've listened to you for years now, an opinion based upon just an opinion and not based upon some fact or statute. The things that you will read on a daily basis, by their very nature, to the uninitiated, to people who have been lulled in the sense of kind of like, Leave It to Beaverland, the 50s, black and white, everything's fine. You've said some things that absolutely would blow my mind. You say, don't take my word for it. It's in the Telegraph or it's here or it's there. That's the thing. That is, you are the master of this paradigm.
Oh, no, please. I mean, enough of that. I mean, listen, I just look at the news. I see the pattern historically repeating itself, and I know the history of eugenics. I know where it comes from. I know who set up Planned Parenthood. I know the players, And so then I get called a conspiracy theorist, or they point at wacky folks that think, space aliens, are secretly running the White House. And it's all just insane. But shifting gears into a whole bunch of issues, what do you make, because I know your commentaries have covered this, on Obamacare? Because if you analyze it, they had MSNBC say that I'm a deeply racist, with no citation, by the way, no clip of me saying something even racist, much less deeply racist, and that I influenced the Boston Bombers, no citation, because I don't like Obamacare. This is 2 months ago, saying it was a giant scam by offshore banks to rip us off. Well, I know who lobbied and wrote it, and now it's happened, and it's been ruled a tax to private groups, and I've been called a conspiracy theorist. If you criticize it, I guess you'll be called a heretic as well. What do you make of Obamacare and where it's going and what's happened to the president?
Okay, well, it is a tax, according to Chief Justice Roberts. There was a basis that it was upheld, if I recall correctly, at least the private mandate.
That's right.
Let me bring this up, and I'm going to bring it very, very, perhaps too base, but this is what amazes me. Alex, there is not a pizza delivery shop. There is nothing that does not have a website that works. Nothing. I had suggested one time in passing that perhaps maybe the administration or the government should turn to porn sites because they are most proficient at getting out their product. I have heard of a lot of things. Funding problems, okay. We didn't anticipate the sign up, okay. But not having a website that works. When Jon Stewart and his writers of The Daily Show speak to this, it's a critical rock bottom. What I don't understand is simply this. When a person becomes the commander-in-chief or the chief executive of this country, and they say X, and X does not seem to be the truth anymore, why doesn't everybody, as a citizen, call that president out, irrespective of the party or irrespective of the man or the woman? I don't understand that. So I am absolutely beyond explaining this anymore, and it's become a comedy of errors. And what's even more interesting are the people who are trying to say the apologists for, I guess, not so much the administration, but the event that, no, you really don't understand it. These things aren't that bad. But I got to say something to you, and you mentioned this before. There is so much. You started off with this absolute amazing story. Something happened this week, and you said this, and it goes back to my psychologist in general part, if you don't mind, and that is the habituation, the conditioning, and the generalizing of us to more and more surveillance. When 60 Minutes mentioned the Jeff Bezos octocoppers and helicopters and that sort of thing, what this is again a systematic acceptance as to how cool things are. And I did a commentary and I said, wait a minute, let's look at a couple of things here. Michael Huerta, the FAA chief, says that by the year 2050, there's going to be 7,500 drones, UAVs, and who is going to license these folks? Forget the fact of congested airspace. Forget the fact that these things are run by GPS and they can crash. Forget the fact that they have metal blades that can hurt people, that batteries can blow up. Forget the fact that they can get sucked up into jet turbines. All of that. Who is asking these questions? But what happened was the sheeple looked at the gold watch and they said, isn't this cool? Isn't this neat? Imagine. Now, how somebody's going to drop a box of, socks in your backyard? I don't know how this is going to work. That was, I don't want to say a beta test, but that was part one of the acclimation and the habituation that we have to this idea of drones.
And by the way, I saw articles in WashTech like in 1999, back when Washington Post had that tech magazine. I read it on air, bragging that they were going to habitualize us to chips in our bodies and drones. And so even when they're on record saying they're going to do this to us, we're still a conspiracy theorist for pointing out that there is an agenda. And listen, here is a conspiracy theory. Most stuff I do is not theorizing, but as the police or prosecutors, you've got to figure out what the criminals are doing and try to figure out their plan, unless you actually, tap their phone or whatever, or, infiltrate their group. Well, I've studied these globalists, so I know how they think, what their end game is. They think they're so bulletproof politically, they're all over their own white papers bragging. So in their case, we know 9 times out of 10 exactly what their plan is. And it's so bold, the average person has trouble dealing with it. But I've noticed this planned failure thing. In other countries, they fire you if you screw up. That's the old common sense way.
Right.
Yeah. No. FEMA ordered a stand down in Katrina and screwed up to say, oh, look, we did terrible. Give us more funding. And I predicted that it wasn't going to work on purpose because the bill was going to screw everybody. So they want to act like, oh, you're getting screwed because it's messed up. It's not on purpose. It's not personal. And so that's why they're going to keep it screwed up forever. And then, oh, give me dictatorial power. I can selectively get in there and fix it, making him the hero, giving themselves a good crisis that won't go to waste. And so I don't know they did it on purpose. I mean, I can't prove it in court, but I know. I know because I've seen how these people operate. It's like a long time ago, I used to be a deer hunter, and my dad taught me when you see a bunch of doe run out in cold weather, looking back over their shoulder, they're getting chased by a buck that's in the rut trying to have sex with them. Get your gun up and get ready. And 9 times out of 10, when I see a bunch of doe running, looking back over their shoulder, the big buck's going to come running out or a coyote. Sorry, go ahead. It's not conspiracy theory that as a hunter, I know when doe are, running from a buck. Go ahead.
First of all, I think we need to reacquaint ourselves with a couple of rules. There's this, I think it's called Pilger's Law, never believe anything until it's officially denied. And that's almost to the point right now where I'm almost, I don't want to think this, but I'm getting very close to it, where the official statement to me, I interpret almost as, oh, so that's what you want me to think, versus that's what happened. Tolstoy said that history would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. Looking at JFK and what I saw, and where we are now 50 years later, is beyond me. There's another thing, too, which is very interesting here. Now, I want everybody to pull yourself out of the matrix, if you will, that you're living in. And by the way, that movie was so prescient, and Minority Report. I can't believe this was cloaked as entertainment, and many of us missed how vatic and how pythonic that was. But I want people to look at something. Alex, what we are missing here at the school level, at the government level, is a lack, a dearth, and the death of critical thinking. In law school, there was a mnemonic that we use, IRAC, I-R-A-C. When you tackle a legal problem, it's issue, rule, analysis, conclusion. What is the issue? Focus on what we're talking about. Don't go off into the woods and talk about Nixon or liberals or whatever. Just focus it. What is the rule? What do we know?
And that's why you could be talking about you don't want GMO and they just throw in, why are you racist? It's just meant to change the subject. So you'll say, I'm not a racist. They've already won changing the subject.
Let me tell you something. What happens is when you use any racist, misogynist, anti-Semitic, anything, when you use something and you give too many false positives, you will habituate, desensitize people to the word and the sting of it, so that when you are really there, it's like these antibiotic-resistant bacteria. When you say racist, 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 and you say, no, this really is racist because racism is here and anti-Semitism is here and misogyny is here, it's here. But when that's your answer, you turn off that sensitivity mode in people. There's also something here which is very interesting. I heard a statistic. I call him the Ted Baxter sock puppet mainstream media. By the way, Ron Burgundy is not the person. Ted Baxter was so, speaking depression, he saw it all. But whenever you hear the decline in American education scores, I think somewhere there are people almost wringing their hands in delight because they do not want people to be smart.
Sure. The owners want dumb people. So stay there. We're going to come back and finish up with that story straight ahead. I am absolutely against abusing apes, great apes, monkeys, you name it, whales, elephants, any higher order animal. As I get older and more in touch with things, I really realize that how we treat animals is how we treat people, and then we need to treat animals better. The problem is the movement behind all this wants to be able to have government and institutions claim they represent animals and just use it to take our liberty. Just like the environmental movement more and more is about power grabbing, not about dealing with real issues like GMOs. So I'm going to break that down coming up. Also, over in England, they're now chopping babies out of women. The CPS is, and this has outraged folks so much that now even the country's high court family judge is ordering social workers behind it to explain it. We've done an hour and 55 minutes of broadcast. Let's see if Lionel can stay 5 minutes with us in the next hour. But I've got to tell you about some of the products here. In fact, if you look over here, if you're watching us on television, we have a whole bunch of the proprietary nascent iodine in. And I'm going to do this test on video for folks and post it on YouTube tomorrow, because I've tested the leading competitors, which I'm sure are great. I've talked to medical doctors. You know, it's good iodine. It just makes me not feel well. And people ask why other iodines like black. It's because it's oxidized in the other things like alcohol. In the glycerin base, it turns purple. And then I went and did the mainline medical research. That's because it is truly the free nascent iodine. And we're getting a bunch of tests done right now by a bunch of big laboratories. But it appears that this may be some of the only real nascent iodine out there where it is open, free form. I mean, I just can't believe how good this product is that I literally lucked into and private labeled, because no one was even buying this. No one even knew about this from a tiny laboratory that's been around for 40 years. And it is simply miraculous. And it helps fund the operation. So InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. And it's just a total blessing that I ever came across this 4 or 5 months ago, started taking it, and it's simply amazing. InfoWarsLife.com. We also have the new InfoWars Life Immune Support, Arabica shade grown from southern Mexico in the high mountains by the Chiapas Co-op. This is beyond fair trade, folks. I've been corrected by folks. It's beyond fair trade. It is absolutely, the majority of the money buying the raw beans goes directly to the farmers, and then it's roasted in Colorado. It's my favorite coffee. InfoWars, Wake Up America, immune support is infused with mushrooms as well that are known to boost the immune system. And all of your purchases support the InfoWar, the news division, the TV show, the films, the magazine. All of it is an outreach. So I try to bring you the best products. And in closing, we have the new December issue of the Dying Dinosaur Media coming out. We have also, and I've been told by the manufacturer, we're the biggest distributor of it, we got to stop in about a week with the ProPure Pro 1 giving 20% off. That really pretty much violates my contract, because 10% off is driving down the price for everybody, and 20% is just really aggressive. But we're doing it on the whole ProPure Pro 1 system of gravity-fed stainless steel filters. 20% off, and we're going to end it next Tuesday. So that's it. I've got to end it because they don't want to sell out. They want to be able to still, that's how supply and demand works. If it's such a good deal that it's selling out even their giant stockpile of these high-quality filtration systems that cuts out the fluoride, the glyphosates, all of it, blows away the leading competitors. We have side-by-side comparison. And I hate to even just have the best products, because I feel sorry for the competitors, quite frankly. But that's what we go out and research. We find the best products, and we bring them to you. We're not like NPR that gets taxpayer money. We're not like MSNBC that gets stimulus money. We're not like the big corporations that get banker bailout money. We're totally supported by your free market purchases at InfoWarsStore.com. ProPure Pro 1, 20% off, promo code WATER20. We're going to come back, have Lionel finish up his story, and then I want to ask him about where the media is going in closing. Then a huge news blitz, your calls, and Kurt Demo. I ask you, where is the dinosaur media going? I mean, you've been giving hardcore libertarian commentary for decades, so your show's still popular in mainstream media. But if people don't get with the program, and I'm seeing a little bit more of this, like Dylan Ratigan came out and exposed the predatory system and said, we're in an unequitable monopoly system, not a free market. And they basically got rid of him, even though he had the most popular show on that channel. But, I mean, what is the establishment going to do with the media?
Well, a couple of things, too, Alex. First of all, I want to thank you, and I want to wish you and your family the best this holiday season, because we don't speak enough. And I do like to give you my thoughts of love and respect.
Back at you, brother.
Now, a couple of things, too. First and foremost, please let me comment about this animal thing, because I'm going to be doing a commentary on this tonight. And this is one of the things. I want to teach somebody something. If ever you are arguing any kind of legal argument, the answer, Alex, that you can use for every legal question there is that has ever been posited by the mind of man, the answer that will always work is it depends. And I'm telling you, I'm not fudging on that. I'm telling you it's the truth. Here is a question that I have. We know, like Potter Stewart said he knew obscenity when he saw it. We all know, for example, about this business about animals being basically treated as humans for purposes of habeas corpus. And there's the Non-Human Rights Project. Did you know, in this movie Blackfish, this documentary about orcas, did you know, speaking of facts, that they have looked at the anatomy of a brain of an orca, of the Cretacean species, bottlenose dolphin, porpoises, dolphins, and they have something called a paralimbic system, meaning
2 brains.
Well, yes, but this particular lobe, their sensitivity for attachment is greater than even that of a human. So when you take a whale away from its mother,
they grieve
forever. Now, that being said, does that change the equation? What happens if somebody were to say that you, who, let's say, keep kosher or halal dietary systems, that kosher slaughtering, that's deemed inhumane? I don't know where this is going. What I always tell people is be very, very careful with this, because like years ago, they said it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. But when you go into some areas, understand, number one, who was behind it? Always ask. Because if I was, let's say, and I'm not saying these people are nefarious, but if I were a really evil person, what I would do is I would always introduce myself by taking a position that everybody agreed on. And then as I became friendly and people liked my cause, whatever it was, then I'd stick it to them. So that's number one. Number two, never, ever, ever apologize for a question you have. You know, kids always say, why, Daddy? Why?
That's right. They act like it's bad under political correctness to even ask questions or talk. And it's amazing that if you even make an observation, they just want us to shut down and do what we're told and only accept the official story. 1 minute left. What's going to happen to the mainstream media?
The mainstream media right now is going to have to understand that when it comes to news, this is the opportunity it has, because human beings love information and they love thinking. And it is completely possible for mainstream corporate entities to expand their area of coverage and break away, because the information that is out there that people might say, well, that's a little offbeat or a little bit different, that is what people love. And all I'm saying is never apologize for thinking, never apologize for asking a question, critically think no matter what you do, and you will never go wrong. And Alex, thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to be here with you, my dear friend. If you and your family, the best this holiday season, sir.
You too. God bless. All right, there goes Lionel. We're going to come right back, and I will not get stuck on one article. I'm going to give you a bunch of headlines when we come back on the other side. News Daniel Defense, it makes really good semi-auto rifles. I actually own one. That's not really saying much, though. I own a lot of guns, folks. It's like saying Ali Baba had a bunch of women in his harem. The point is, it's not my only love, but a lot of the special forces use them, you name it. They ran a very nice ad of the dad coming home to Mayberry, USA, going in and hugging his wife and saying, I have a right to defend my family. Daniel Defense. And they banned it. They said it's offensive. But you can have shoot-'em-up video games. All that is it's simulated. You're living in fantasy land. That's what they want. You can have military ads, whatever you want. You do not show a father coming home, walking in the house with images of his children and him in his Marine Corps uniform being pro-Second Amendment. The image of the Marines cannot be used to promote the Bill of Rights. It can only be used to promote the globalist empire. And this is offensive, because anything wholesome is offensive. Absolutely amazing. And I am calling for a boycott. This is like saying leave it to Beaver is offensive. But it is offensive. They're busy overturning our culture, bringing in tyranny. They want us totally screwed up. Here's another one. Oregon girl barred from selling mistletoe, but told it's okay to beg. WRIC television. ABC News is reporting that her dad didn't have money to get her braces, so she did what any terrorist would do. She went and cut a bunch of mistletoe, thinking I could go to the local, city area where they're having a Christmas fair, and I could walk around selling my wares like people have done for 10,000 years in city markets. And they said, we'll arrest you if you do that anymore, just like they've cracked down on the lemonade stands. The last thing a kid needs to learn is you can do something without the government saying you can here in North Korea. I meant land of the free, home of the brave. You're meant to go work at a box store, for minimum wage and be a slave and take your vaccines and die early. Again, lawmaker says Amazon drone could photograph your home. That's the real reason for the drone rollout, claiming it's package delivery. That's now come out in Congress. Shifting gears, Guardian, we have published 1% of the Snowden leak. Breitbart is reporting that from AP. It's up on drudgereport.com as the top story there. It's also on Infowars.com right now, and it is just outrageous that they're trying to criminally prosecute now and are doing a criminal investigation of The Guardian for exposing illegal spying by the U.S. and British government. It'd be like if they caught the president snorting cocaine off of the back of a hooker like his predecessor, Bill Clinton, liked to do, and then if someone reported on that, arresting them for reporting the crime. But this is a crime, not a sexual crime against society, as they say it, but a much higher crime of violating all of our rights, not to keep us safe. They run the terrorist. So there you go. The Guardian should have released it all. But now they're going to go after him and persecute the press. And the press, of course, is rolling over, groveling to watching another quasi-decent organization being torn apart. Just like News Corp. I don't like a lot of stuff News Corp does. They've attacked me many times. But they're clearly going after News Corp for spying on other people, which is what the press does. While the government spies times a million, and the government ships guns into Mexico, and the government's involved funding al-Qaeda, and the government's involved putting our military under NATO, and the government's shutting off our coal power plants and jacking up our prices. Meanwhile, that very same Justice Department that says they're, quote, brainwashing people against guns is now threatening and blackmailing News Corp. And I told you this 2 years ago from my inside sources. It broke last month that News Corp has been threatened, Rupert Murdoch, with arrest if he criticizes Obama. And that's why you see so much groveling, not just on Fox News, but on News Corp properties, movies, sitcoms, dramas. It's almost all pro-Obama. The Fox-run NFL and the Super Bowl has refused the ad that we just... In fact, I got to play the ad one more time. I've got to play the ad. This is the ad. If you're a radio listener, I'm going to narrate it, but the ad's up on Infowars.com. Adon Salazar has written an article about it, dealing with my call to boycott the NFL. But here's some of the other headlines. Half of Americans want Obamacare scrapped. 81% want law changed as more White House lies are exposed. I mean, Steve writes these articles off mainline polls. I've seen polls of 90+% against Obamacare. But it doesn't matter. It's unconstitutional. I don't care what the Supreme Court says. You can have a private tax to foreign banks. TSA expands searches of parked cars at airports. Yeah, they actually go into the airports now and break in your cars and screw them up with those Slim Jims. TSA claim debunked. Photo, proof, agency searches cars. Kurt Nimmo has a... Yeah, that's right. They denied they do that. Even though at the Austin Bergstrom for years, they put a note in your car, they searched it. So that's just some of the news up on Infowars.com right now. And Adon's article, I guess, is going up any minute with this NFL piece where I call for the boycott of the NFL for what they're doing. But this is Fox, and this is the NFL. Daniels Defense recently submitted a commercial to Fox to be played during the 2014 NFL Super Bowl. XLV111. Though the video doesn't showcase one of the company's popular DD-M4 rifles, the paid advertisement spot was rejected by the NFL as being offensive. And the NFL said it's in prohibited advertising categories. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and play the prohibited ad that shows a dad driving. Oh my gosh, that is so evil. Can you imagine in America? You think you can air that on television? That is offensive. And, you know, they say I'm offensive too, and they say you're offensive. And, you know, they've had on national television different so-called liberal journalists calling me a diehard, you know, nut. Die hard, hard to kill, won't give up, won't give in to change, even though it's obvious. That's the definition. Oh, it's obvious that I'm going to just give in to classical evil that every culture listed as bad. There's not one culture that ever said what the system's doing is good. It is prima facie, on its face, 100% bad news. And we're supposed to just grovel to the entire thing. Amazing. And they don't want you to recognize there's a war against the individual or the family, or that you're under attack, or that there's groups with agendas to run your life. Of course there are. They say that's a conspiracy when that's historical fact and going on now. And you can't demonstrate in most areas of the country. The police will beat your head in because they're ordered to. Oh, we're so free. You can't have lemonade stands and all this crud. Stand up against it. It's your duty to say no. It's your duty to start saying no to this system. Because we're in great danger, folks, when you lay down to this. That's what you should be afraid of. Laying down makes it get worse. Laying down is what makes you a slave. Laying down is what makes you easy to run over. I'm not here to scare you, folks. It's already happening. I'm telling you about a forest fire that's coming through the woods towards your cabin. I'm telling you about a tsunami that's coming in 10 minutes. I'm telling you about history. We're under attack now, and you haven't seen anything yet. I'm desperate. We're going under authoritarian engineering towards a nightmare planetary government whose open endgame is absolute scientific dissection of the human spirit. Merciless control freaks dedicated to destroying free will. I mean, how could anyone be scared of fighting the New World Order? I don't want to die, but I have no fear. No fear. I don't even have fear of them doing something to my kids, even though I love them more than life itself. Because they don't have a future if we don't beat this anyways. It's all going down if we don't beat them. You got to be all in. You got to double down against the adversity. I walked in at 6 a.m. this morning because my kids, my youngest daughter, 5 years old, has a cold. And she'd climbed in bed with my wife, and I didn't want to get it, so I went and slept in the guest bedroom. And I walked in, and the French bulldog, they were all in the king-size bed over on one side. Like, almost the whole bed was open. It was my wife asleep with my daughter holding her like a barnacle, clutching her, with the French bulldog up against my daughter with a cheek up against her, all three of them snoring. And they looked so cute, and I looked at that, and that was literally heaven right there. Happy, snuggly, good little sweet creatures being protected and happy. And knowing that I'll do whatever it takes to try to give them a future. That's living. That's being a man. And that's what I choose. Kids arrested waiting for school bus. This is something that came out yesterday I didn't get to. And it is a case of waiting for the bus while black. But I've got to tell you, it's like this pretty much anywhere now, where if you're standing somewhere, the police will pull up. Doesn't matter if you're black, white. I've had this happen to me many times. I lived in North Austin in a decent neighborhood, but I'd walk to the convenience store 200 yards away, and I had cops like, give us your ID. And I'd be like, do I look like somebody you're looking for? Hey, man, I said, give it to me. And I'd be like, well, I don't have it. I just went over here to get a Gatorade and an ice cream or whatever. That was back when I was single. And they just flip out on me. And it's just this randomness. And it was like, even after the police were told, hey, we're waiting to go to a basketball game, this is a sponsored school event, they didn't care. It's like, you're going to go to jail. And that's the thing about the system, is that this morning I was out hiking with a friend, and I really had to urinate in the middle of the woods. And he's like, why don't you just go right here on the side of the path? And I went, I was there with a friend jogging and hiking. And I went, man, they will charge you with sexual indecency even if someone can't see you in the woods. The police pull over and pee in the woods, but they will arrest you. I saw some number where like a third of the sex offenders are people that got caught peeing in their backyard or peeing in the woods. And of course, everybody does it. I remember I was up in Canada at Bilderberg. There was nowhere to use the bathroom because the hotel was like in the middle of the countryside. And so everyone was peeing in the woods. Now, I saw the police in England peeing in the woods, and they saw us peeing in the woods and didn't charge us. Because even though they're a nanny state, they're not going to arrest you for peeing in the woods. But I'm telling you, the Canadian police told us, yeah, if we see you peeing, we're going to charge you with sexual indecency. I go, but I've seen you over there peeing. They go, doesn't matter. And I don't know why I've gone off into this talk. It's just that they want you in the system, folks. So I literally went back in the woods like 100 yards and looked all around to pee in the woods. That's how evil this country is, folks. They want you in the system, and they want you in the system now. Okay? Period. It's predatory. They will cut your body open and take your baby a month early because they want to adopt it out or put it on a bunch of drugs. If they put you on SSRIs and you have a panic attack, you're going to take your kids. The system is predatory. You build a big system, you let people get into it, they will turn the system into a criminal operation. That's now happened. The government has a 6% approval rating. It's rogue, it's illegitimate, and it's run by offshore corporations. There is no debating. Think of how they've taught the public that tyranny doesn't exist and there's no corruption in government. And if you say we should watch government, you're a conspiracy theorist. I mean, on its face, folks, the Army trained soldiers that George Washington's bad. That's like a movie where the country's captured and your American president's a pig and freedom is bad. Hail Stalin. I mean, that is directly out of Red Dawn. Let's go to John Bound's report as we go to break.
Stasi techniques are being utilized by police on the streets of Rochester, New York. Close to a dozen Edison Tech High School students were instructed by their basketball coach to wait for the bus in downtown Rochester. What began as an everyday occurrence in the United States ended in tyranny. As the students waited to be shuttled to their basketball scrimmage, a Rochester police officer commanded them to disperse. In vain, the students explained they were waiting for the bus.
We tried to tell him that we was waiting for the bus, but we wasn't catching the city bus, we was catching the yellow bus. And he didn't care. He arrested us anyways.
Where are the rights of natural-born citizens in Rochester, New York?
You're under arrest. I already warned you.
I'm going to back up.
You know what? You're going to go to jail. That's just not right.
They appear to be firmly under the boot of an autocratic group of thugs.
And the cop attacks them.
I understand you, and I'm standing in my house. I'm filming an accident that has occurred.
I need you to go
No,
inside.
would you please go back.
Sir, I have wires hanging here. I need you to go inside
my house.
Sir,
now.
go inside and close the door.
The acceleration of the police state grows like a treasonous cancer from Boston to Dallas to Rochester.
It's a catastrophe. I mean, these young men were doing nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. And still and yet, they get arrested.
The students were able to make it home for Thanksgiving after their families posted $200 bail and now await a December 11th court date where they hope the charges will be dropped. John Bound for InfoWars Nightly News.
That's right. You don't assemble, folks. Not in America. You pay your money to the foreign banks, you take your shots, you drink your fluoride, and you get ready to die. We're going to go to Kurt Nimmo on the attack on the First Amendment and a bunch of other news here. I said I'd take calls then. I've ended up not giving the number out and not taking calls just because there's so much to talk about. I've probably covered 1/3 of the news, and since then a ton of other stuff is broken, but I'm going to get to it. We're doing pretty good here so far today. Briefly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do this on television right now for folks that are watching it. No, I'll do it tomorrow because I got Dr. Group coming in. But the point is that you take this iodine, and according to the medical and scientific research I've looked into myself, confirming what Dr. Group and others said, if it's true free-form iodine, when you put it on white paper, it should turn purple, ultraviolet blue. And if you do that with our nascent iodine, that's what it does. It goes from the yellow to the blue. And it's simply amazing. In a minute, it's going to turn blue. You're watching on television. Now, you take every other so-called nascent iodine out there and you do it, and it turns red and then total black. It's oxidized in the alcohol. And we're looking at what that is, and we're doing tests. It looks like the iodine's actually breaking down into something else, derivatives of it. Whatever. The point is, that's why this is so special. Look at that. It's turning bright purple. I don't know if the camera or folks watching on the internet can see that. We're going to shoot a high-def video of this today. And I was looking at this, doing research, and finding these old tests they used to do to see if something was really nascent or free form and see how it's purple. It's having the reaction. That's why our iodine is clear versus the iodine that's like black, because it's had some chemical reaction. And again, we're having it tested right now. But InfoWarsLife.com, and I'm not even differentiating our iodine versus others. You need iodine, period, whether it's in kelp or the different gourmet sea salts, whatever. but then it's still somewhat bound, but your body can break it down. The word for the medical doctors and nutritionists I've talked to is this nascent form, if it's truly nascent, where it's free form, it just goes right into your body and just attaches to fluoride. Everything else is such a detoxifier. And most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, you know, we're so deficient in this. I call it the iodine conspiracy, and that video is on InfoWarsLife.com if you want to watch us break it down and show the medical reports and the studies and the details that have been put out on this subject by even mainline universities. So InfoWarsLife.com, or call toll-free to get the what I believe is the best nascent iodine out there. 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. Also, we have the second line of InfoWars Life products. That is Chiapan, Southern Mexico, high mountain shade-grown Arabica beans that I believe, from what I've tasted, is the best coffee in the world. 2 years trying to get a good supplier of this, and it's now available at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. We also have the immune support medium roast that has these special type of mushrooms infused in it that are known to increase immunity. That is so important right now with all the stuff that's going on. And again, we are funded by viewers and listeners like you. Please be sure and support our local AM and FM affiliates as well by supporting their local sponsors or becoming a sponsor, or bottom line, telling 10 people a day, it's easy. Hey, tune in to 1530 in Chicago, or tune in to 590 in Austin, or tune in to our 160-plus affiliates. Tell people they can tune in and hear what's going on. Now, I said I'd get to this more later. After Kurt leaves us, I've got to get into this major medical study that's come out that women and men's brains are different. Now, the next study will be that men and women are different. Oh, that's sexist. You mean I can't have a baby? That's anti-male. I demand at birth the government build me an artificial womb so that I can, you know, have children. I mean, this is just incredible, ladies and gentlemen, and just shows how they're trying to create a new dark age of ignorance. I want to tell you about that. But right now, Kurt Nimmo, who's been with the crew, I don't know, 8 years or so, moved out here 3 or 4 years ago from New Mexico to actually be in Austin, Texas. And I'm always trying to twist his arm to come on air because he's got, you know, great analysis and is just a great brain to have around the office. And he's usually like, oh, no, I don't want to go on. But he keeps writing about all these attacks on internet freedom, internet free speech, not just here but worldwide, SOPA, CISPA, internet taxes. He said, yeah, I'll come on. So here is Kurt Nimmo, who also is the editor of Infowars.com and his joint duties with Paul Watson. They both edit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. And here he is with us in studio. Kurt, I mean, it's really happening, just like on every front. They're trying to get their whole agenda through right now. I know, because they know there's an awakening happening. The question is, in this race to the finish line, what's going to happen? Go over some of what we see with the war on the press and now the war on the internet itself, with the big internet giants cheerleading along with this. The power to tax is the power to destroy, to quote George Washington. And we're now looking down the barrel of this. Tell folks about your article from yesterday.
Well, on Monday, the Supreme Court decided to not hear a case between Amazon and Overstock.com about challenging the Market Fairness Act, which is, or excuse me, the Marketplace Fairness Act that the Senate passed, taxing the internet. So in essence, what happened is they refused to hear the case. So what's going to happen is the states are free to impose taxation.
Yeah, they didn't overturn or hear the earlier case saying we can tax the internet to any point we want.
Yeah.
And so now get ready.
Absolutely. So,
by the way, you already pay taxes on all the telecommunications, on all the phones, on all the infrastructure. We already built the infrastructure.
That's right.
So it's taxes on taxes on taxes.
Well, the states are real hot to do this because obviously they need the revenue, so they're going after this.
And there's never going to be enough money for these bloodsuckers.
That's right. That's right. They got to pay all their government workers their pensions and everything else. So,
by the way, Texas really has a franchise tax and a business tax that is a sales tax. And it's only a couple % right now. They're about to jack it up. So they won't stop until they've wrecked everything.
Right. But what's significant about this is it's an attack on the Commerce Clause of the Constitution and also the 14th Amendment Due Process Clause. That states particularly that you have to have a presence in a state to tax a business.
And states aren't supposed to be able to tax outside their state.
Right. Well, the Commerce Clause was created to facilitate competition between the states, not impede it.
That's right. And the feds have used it to actually dominate the states, but now they're going to let the states engage in their own savage attack on the...
Well, we saw this coming when Roberts sided with in the Obamacare decision to allow, the IRS and the government to,
Well, we already I haven't done stories on this yet, but I've got all the letters threatening New York and California letters going, we are the state ordering you. And, of course, it's all fraud. They can't just order me. We are ordering you under penalty of perjury and everything to answer our questions about your business and in California and everything you've done back 10 years. And I sent a letter back saying, go to hell.
Right.
Because, I'm not operating with a business inside your stinking, filthy, New World Order run cesspit.
Right. Well, the Commerce...
And now their tentacles are shooting out to suck my blood here.
Right. The Commerce Clause says...
It's like North Korea just sending me a letter. Go ahead.
There has to be a nexus, what they call a nexus between the seller...
And I have no nexus with North Korea or California.
You have no physical buildings there, no representatives. So, therefore, it's illegitimate under the Commerce Clause for them to tax you there.
And, again, a lot of Californians that came here for liberty are the best people around, like Darren McBrain and people. He's really from Arizona, but he lived out in California. But the new ones coming, they don't know why they wreck California or why they can't get a job. They're literally here commanding me that I can't have 3 kids, commanding me, ruling me, reporting everybody that has guns in the country shooting. I mean, they are here to rule. And they are. They're ruling and just spewing everywhere. Disgusting filth. I'm sorry.
It was the government of California that caused that immigration to the state. And like you said, they'll wreck it here, too.
Oh, they will wreck everything.
They'll bring their PC logic.
When they're done, they're going to wreck everything to hell.
Yep.
They love it. Misery loves company. And they're so stupid. They're so dumb. They don't know what filth they are and what scum they are. I'm sorry. We should hate them. Enemies.
I was going to say, this is also piles on top of CISPA as well, which attacks the Fourth Amendment. So they're using the internet to attack the Constitution on multiple fronts. This is just not...
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're here about internet censorship. Tell us about all the loving stuff that the filth is engaged in.
Well, with CISPA, what they do is they said that they could check your internet communications, surveil you under the rubric of cybersecurity. So what they're saying is that the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply anymore to internet communications, that they can just go in, with this phony terror war and see if you're a cybersecurity threat. So...
Well, here's an example. There's many famous cases of an engineer, 500 years ago, 1,000, in many cases being marooned in a primitive area. If you got marooned and you were a criminal, you'd later read about another explorer came by and found out, they killed the guy. But if you were somebody that could help them and give them science, you'd end up, forming a new dynasty and ending up being the chief of the tribe. And it's the same thing. I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, old, young. You got something to add. You want to be free. You want to join the team. You don't want to be a parasite. I want to be around you. But you want to come here and wreck my life and make me your slave and morally get on a high horse and lecture me all day because you're accepting the vomit out of the government. And the average Californian literally cannot tie their shoelaces. And you see the Mark Dice videos. That's not edited. That's what they do not know what planet they're on. You can say we're going to murder all the gun owners. They'll sign it for Obama. We're going to make Obama dictator. They'll sign the petition and go, you want to make him a dictator? They go, yeah, I do. It's time to shut everybody. I mean, they're ready to put us in labor camps, Kurt, and they will. That's what frickin' commies do. These people are the enemy. I'm sorry, go ahead. Their ignorance, their weakness, and their arrogant, scum-filled attitude that we've got to bow to them and suck the pus out of their green breast. I will have no part of it. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's endemic across the country. It's just not California. I mean, it's moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, I mean, it's eating its way into the middle. And Texas is going to be a hard push for that because...
And notice they declare us the enemy everywhere on the news.
Yeah.
Oh, they want their guns and their Bibles and they work and men are still men. Put more poison in their water. Teach them. They'll prance around like trendy soon enough.
Disgusting.
Anyways, I didn't mean to rant, Kurt.
It's okay.
Because I started thinking about Californians. And we're on a bunch of affiliates out in California, and the people in California are great that are awake, but they're like people in Nazi Germany. And they're just literally, I mean, they want 55-year-old men to be able to go in little girls' bathrooms and look at them.
They recently passed a law where you can't smoke in your own house in California. If you
Hitler did that.
Yeah, I know. Hitler was anti-tobacco big time. But they passed a law recently where if you have a house that's conjoined with another house, like a duplex, then you can't smoke.
But the point is that they do it all saying it's for the betterment of everybody. It's a bunch of lawless crooks. I mean, look at Acorn and all these people.
Yeah.
You can go in the Democratic offices and go, we're going to run child sex slaves. Oh, good, let us help you. We're going to run giant scams, bring down America, you know, Heil Stalin. Oh, yeah, we love it. Tell me more about the internet censorship, Kurt.
Well, this particular bill is not necessarily internet censorship, but what it will do is, and as a matter of fact, I have to stipulate that if you make less than $1 million or you earn less than $1 million in internet sales, this law, as it currently stands in the Senate version, does not apply to you.
But that's the way they always are.
Absolutely.
Like the income tax was only on millionaires, and now look at it.
That's right. Absolutely. So for now, it's not going to affect small people selling stuff on eBay, or a small Etsy business or something's not going to be affected. But a larger operation is going to be affected.
And again, the reason all the big corporations really aren't battling it that much, Amazon is a little bit for now, is they'll just create subsidiaries. They'll never pay any tax.
Or they'll go offshore. They'll run their operation in the Netherlands or Germany or something.
Or on Google barges.
Or Google barges, there you go. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what they're for.
Probably.
Come on, Kurt, what's wrong with an Amazon drone?
I thought the barges were for like fun houses for Google Glasses.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Kurt. Looking at all this, there was a point I was going to make, and you brought up the Google fun houses, and that brought up some images. They had like these flying sex palaces on these big jumbo jets and the rest of it. The point is, but they don't want us to have any privacy. But they're obsessed with privacy. The head of Google makes women wear like those Michael Jackson veils, like his kids have to wear. But then they want all our stuff to be known.
You're talking about Schmidt, does?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Schmidt looks like he dresses up in pig outfits at night or something. I mean, or like Eyes Wide Shut type stuff.
Oh, boy.
I mean, that's just what I see. But no, seriously, what do you make of the surrealness, Kurt, of the way the world's getting right now?
Well, it's just the over-the-top aspects of the police state and totalitarianism in the modern age with technology. I mean, it's just, like you said, it's over-the-top, it's crazy, but a lot of people don't see it. They're wrapped up in their, you know, their television and, like you're talking about earlier, football games. And so,
oh, yeah, people really think the television is the world.
Absolutely.
With all these fantasy characters.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It really is. I mean, yeah, it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy. It really is.
America is the epicenter of it, and I never thought, I've said I will never evacuate it, but, I mean, it's like The Walking Dead now. I mean, how do you get away from the zombie trendy masses?
Well, a lot of people are going off the grid and moving away from the population centers just to get away from it. I mean,
but Michael Moore says that's racist.
Well, of course, Michael Moore would say that. I mean, he also believes that you should have a dog to protect yourself when somebody...
But he should have 6 bodyguards with guns.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Same thing with the Pearl Jam guy. By the way, he says it's violating his First Amendment if we disagree with him.
Did he say that?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. He actually said that.
These people have no concept of what the First Amendment and the Bill of Rights are about.
Well, the thing is, they're not liberals, Kurt. We're liberals.
Right.
We want freedom.
We're classical liberals.
Yeah, these people are foaming at the mouth morons, is what they are.
Well, socialists always turn into totalitarian thugs. It's inevitable. History shows it over and over and over. From Hitler to Mussolini to Obama, you know, they consolidate power and turn into thugs.
And they go, they're fascist. That's what socialism always turns into. You look at the Soviet Union. That's fascism.
It was. Right. Well, fascism classically, Mussolini said, is corporatism. So it's large business and government merging, working together.
Yeah, communism is if the corporations are offshore, then they set up communism to suck everything out and go, it's a people's paradise. If the corporations are in your country, they call it fascism because they then exempt themselves.
It's a looting operation, basically.
Which is what Dylan Ratigan said, and they're like, you're out of MSNBC.
Yeah. He made some good points.
Well, I bring it up because he was having a panic attack on air. Imagine being around all those plastic fake people all day, spewing lies at folks, and then he starts telling a little bit of the truth and gets top ratings, and then finally just flips out on them so they don't renew his contract.
Right.
And all these corporations think they can spew all this bull on us through their state-run media and be insulated from it. They're not insulated in their country clubs. They're not insulated. This is all already coming back on them.
They're deluded. They don't understand. I mean, well, they're building bunkers and they're preparing themselves.
Oh, yeah, there's an article on InfoWars. Tell folks a record number of bunkers being built by the elite.
I didn't read it, so I don't know what it's about. But, yeah, they've been doing that. They did the seed vaults up in the North Pole, up in the northern regions of the you know, up in the Arctic Circle. So they're building and they're getting ready, and there's tunnels all over the place. So they're getting ready.
That's racist.
It is racist.
Against moles. By the way, that shirt is gray. Are you against gray people?
I am. I am, yes.
You heard peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are racist.
Yeah, I did hear that. I never could figure the logic on that one.
Well, no, there's no lot. It's just meant to just tell us we're racist. We're guilty. They're in a position of authority. Do what they say. Slit your wrist. We'll be back. New toll hike hits drivers hard in New Jersey. Imagine spending $100 to drive over a bridge. Well, that's what they're doing now. They're never going to stop, folks. They're never going to stop. And all the money siphoned off and just put into derivatives and burned. It's all to bankrupt you. No amount of taxes, no amount of cops writing tickets. It's all, none of it. The cops think they got to write more tickets because things are going to implode. No, you're there to implode things. Let's just get that clear. That's just some of it. Obama says we're in a great recovery, but polls show people aren't buying it. And during the break, Obama was giving a speech. It was on Fox News saying that the health law is working. There's the quote. The law is working and will work into the future. So there you have it. It is working well. There's the quote, ladies and gentlemen. So there you have it. Another article by Paul Watson gets into that on Infowars.com, and it finally went live. Great article by Adon Salazar is on Infowars.com. Let me hit a refresh button there because the site is cached, so it takes a while for things to get updated. But the article is up on the site, red linked. There it is. So hit refresh on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. National movement to boycott NFL launched. And I'm going to cut videos about this. I'm asking listeners to cut videos and say why I am boycotting the NFL and then talk about it. And then we're going to edit those videos together to where it's everybody talking in unison and then air them on the radio and TV in the next few weeks. And I'm boycotting it right through the Super Bowl. And I think I'm going to get on an airplane and go to where they're holding the stupid gladiatorial event. Where are they having the gay Super Bowl? I mean, nothing against it. It's just guys bending over and guys put their hands down and then grab the ball and all pat each other and everything. So maybe I shouldn't protest it because that's being anti-gay. They're having it in New Orleans. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I am protesting the NFL, but not because it's gay. Okay, that has nothing to do with it. I'm protesting because they're anti-free speech. And I know a lot of guys like to watch it and have their favorite boyfriends on there, and I get all that. Okay, I understand. The point is that they're anti-free speech, anti-Second Amendment, and I've had enough. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with their anti-family garbage. Okay? I'm really ranting now, but the article is red-linked up on Infowars.com. The National Football League once again revealed itself to be little more than an establishment political tool when it declined to run a rather tame Super Bowl ad submitted by a rifle manufacturer. Rather tame. It's a beautifully simple, loving, pro-family, pro-man, pro-woman, pro-baby, pro-security, pro-self-defense ad, and that's why it can't be allowed. And it is up on Infowars.com. I'm going to tweet this out right now at Real Alex Jones on Twitter. I need everybody to get this out to everyone you know. Only you can make this NFL boycott go mega viral. We're going to post it to our big Facebook. We want you to like it and share it. We're going to put it on the Twitter at Real Alex Jones. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we need to boycott the sponsors of it, and we need to boycott the NFL. My God, I can't go, even with family that's awake, to any holiday event without nothing but football talk. And I mean, I'm so sick of it. I want to live my own life. Okay, I want to talk about literature or art or politics. I don't want to hear about the stupid University of Texas Longhorns or the stupid NFL. It's disgusting, and it's a hallmark of our degenerate, collapsing society. Just like Black Friday and all the rest of it. I do not want to hear about your bloated salaries and the narcissism and the mental illness of this declining Roman Empire. And now they're promoting Obamacare, they're promoting getting our guns, and Bob Costas saying, turn your guns in. The NFL is basically North Korean broadcasting, and I'm going to cut a special transmission for the Nightly News right when the show ends. I want folks to get set up in the studio back there. I'm going in while I'm still hot and angry to cut this for the Nightly News because I need to get this out. Man, I am just absolutely in a rage right now of what a propagandized system. If you don't get mad and say no, then you've just collapsed. You'll put up with anything. I am so angry right now. National movement to boycott NFL launched. NFL again reveals itself as a political tool of the establishment. Maybe the sub-headline should be NFL promotes, same NFL promotes Obamacare, now anti-gun, or like NFL adds insult to injury. Maybe a big sub-headline. NFL, pro-Obamacare NFL launches war on Second Amendment. I mean, enough is enough. I don't know what you say. There's not words to describe how outrageous this is. Here's some of the other headlines. 3D printer guns at center of House vote to extend screening law. So they have a law that you can't have guns that can go through metal detectors. So that's how they want to ban plastic guns or composite guns. Total tyranny. They want to make it a felony to have one. Absolutely outrageous. Printed plastic guns, a growing worry for law enforcement. Hey, if you come on, law enforcement. The Mexican drug cartels are run by our government. You people make me want to throw up. No security ever built into Obamacare site, CNBC reports. We told you that with all our programming sources here on air. Mike Adams and many others. It was designed for fraud. Piers Morgan says Obama is the perfect president with a perfect physical physique. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, that's just like the Slimeball host who says he gets a tingle up his leg to his tallywhacker whenever he thinks about Obama. And so maybe Slimeball and Obama will have a chance to get married on national television. We can have the first publicly gay president with his boyfriend, Chris Matthews, and then Hillary. Hillary can divorce Bill and marry a woman, and it won't matter if she's a criminal because she's gay. It makes it okay. She's a lesbian. Then it makes it trendy. She could slit children's throats and make Bloody Marys out of it on the White House lawn. I mean, if you're gay, it's trendy. I mean, don't be against gay people. So there you go, folks. Why not fund Al-Qaeda? I mean, if the president's gay, it makes it okay. In fact, I agree with that. I think gay people are better than everybody else and should be above the law. So I'm trendy. All right, continuing here. Here's the article, why are so many wealthy people building futuristic high-tech security bunkers? And it's because they're afraid of collapse. The Daily Mail and others are reporting. That's up on Infowars.com. Ohio court says polite drivers are not suspicious. Police search cars without warrants, saying that if someone is polite, it's a sign that they are a terrorist. And again, the communists down in Venezuela can't keep the lights on for their national presentations, but that's okay. The globalists want everybody in the dark. That's better. All the better to control you. Gold drops below cash cost, approaching marginal production costs, showing it's a manipulated market. UN starts drone surveillance in the Congo. They've got offensive operations in the Congo to take control of gold and diamond fields, so they're engaging in mass murder down there. That was what the whole PR thing was about Coney 2012, about some guy hadn't been seen in 7 years now. Oh, it was a guy we saw, so we're going to invade all of Africa, not just Central Africa, because you're for Coney if you're against it. So now the drones are running surveillance and killing people. So the UN has its robot army, very loving. Explain why you snatched a baby girl at birth. The judge's order to social workers behind forced cesarean. I think they should have just executed her. That's even more trendy. Orrin Hatch pushes for passage of Trans-Pacific Partnership that gets rid of Congress's authority on all trade, basically, and sets up planetary government openly. Over 700,000 Americans are now on a watch list. Once you get on, you can't get off or find out why you got on it. Very North Korean. I love it. In the last 50